I can still see my sister standing up at that restaurant champagne glass, raised announcing to everyone that I would be covering the bill. The warm glow of candlelight made everything feel so intimate, so familial. My mother was beaming, my kids were laughing, and for a moment I thought this was just Melissa being generous with her words. But then I saw that look in her eye, that confident smirk. That is when I knew something was wrong. This was supposed to be Mum's 60th birthday celebration, a night of joy and togetherness. I had no idea it would become the most expensive dinner of my life, or that I would walk out leaving them with a bill for $6,380. Before I tell you how this dinner turned into a $6,000 nightmare drop, a comment and let me know where you are watching from. If you have ever dealt with entitled family members, hit that like button. Trust me, you will want to hear how I handled this one. Now let's get into what happened that night. My name is Joshua. I am 32 years old and I work as an accountant for a mid-sized firm here in Philadelphia. Nothing fancy, nothing extraordinary, just steady work that pays the bills and lets me sleep at night knowing my family is taken care of. My wife Amy is 30. She teaches second grade at an elementary school about 15 minutes from our house. We have 2 kids, Emma, who just turned 7, and Lucas, our 5-year-old ball of energy, who never seems to run out of questions. Our life is what most people would call comfortable. We are not wealthy by any stretch, but we are doing okay. We live in a 3-bedroom house in the suburbs with a small backyard where the kids play on weekends. Amy and I are careful with money. We have to be. We are saving for Emma and Lucas to go to college someday, and we both know how expensive that will be. Every month we put away what we can into their education fund. It is not much, but it adds up. Our weekends are simple. We take the kids to the park, have picnics sometimes. Catch a movie if there is something kid-friendly playing. Most nights Amy cooks dinner at home, spaghetti tacos, chicken and rice, the kind of meals that stretch across several days of leftovers. When we do eat out, it is usually at diners or family-friendly chain restaurants where kids eat free on Tuesdays. We are not the type to drop hundreds of dollars on a single meal. It just does not fit our budget or our values. Every dollar I earn feels important because I know what it represents: security, stability, a future for my children. Now, my sister Melissa is a different story. She is 28, 4 years younger than me, and works in marketing for a tech startup downtown. She has always been the flashy one in the family. Her Instagram is full of photos from trendy restaurants, weekend getaways to beach resorts, and selfies with expensive cocktails. She loves being the center of attention, and she is good at creating that image of success. But I know the truth. I have seen the credit card statements she accidentally left on Mum's kitchen counter once. I know she is in debt, not drowning but definitely treading water. Growing up, Melissa and I were close, but there was always this undercurrent of competition from her side. If I got an A, she needed an A+. If I made the soccer team, she tried out for the traveling league. As adults, that rivalry shifted. She wanted to prove she was more successful, more glamorous, more everything. And social media gave her the perfect stage. She would post photos of herself at 5-star brunches, but I knew she would probably eat ramen for the next 3 days to afford it. Her boyfriend Derek is 30 and works in real estate. At least that is what he says. Mostly he talks about deals that are about to happen, properties that are almost sold, commissions that are just around the corner. He drives a leased BMW and wears designer sunglasses. He and Melissa are perfect for each other in that way. Both of them care a lot about appearances. Over the years there had been small incidents. Melissa would suggest we grab dinner, then conveniently forget her wallet when the check came. It happened 3 or 4 times. Each time I paid without making a fuss. It was never a huge amount, $30 here, 50 there. I told myself it was not worth causing family drama over. Amy would give me a look that said she knew exactly what Melissa was doing, but I would shrug it off. She is my sister. Family helps family. Right. But I would be lying if I said it did not bother me. It did, every single time. Mum's 60th birthday was coming up, and the family started talking about how to celebrate. I suggested we throw a party at her house. We could grill burgers, set up some decorations, maybe bake a cake. It would be cozy, personal, and most importantly, affordable. Everyone could chip in a little, and Mom would be surrounded by the people she loves. Melissa shot that idea down immediately. She said, and I quote, "Mom only turned 60 once. We need to do something special, something she will remember." I could not really argue with that. It sounded reasonable. So when Melissa offered to organize everything and pick the restaurant, I figured she was stepping up. Maybe she wanted to do something nice for Mom. Maybe this was her way of showing love. I was genuinely hopeful. I thought, good for her. She is taking charge. She sent a group text a week later with the name of the place. Le Bernardin Steakhouse. I had heard of it. It was one of those restaurants that gets written up in magazines, the kind of place where businessmen take clients to impress them. I felt a small knot form in my stomach when I saw the name, but I pushed it aside. I assumed we would each pay for our own meals. That is how it usually works, right? Melissa followed up with another text. "Do not worry, I have got this covered." I took that to mean she had made the reservation and handled the planning. It did not occur to me that she meant anything else, so I relaxed. I went out and bought a nice gift for Mom, a frame photo of all of us from last Christmas, along with a bracelet she had been eyeing at a jewelry store. The night of the dinner finally came. Amy and I got the kids dressed up. Emma wore her favorite blue dress, and Lucas wore a button-down shirt that he complained about the entire car ride. When we pulled up to Le Bernardin, I was taken aback. The building was elegant, with tall windows glowing warmly from inside. A valet took our car. A valet? I could not remember the last time I had been somewhere fancy enough to have valet parking. Inside the restaurant was even more impressive. Soft lighting candles on every table, leather booths, and waiters in crisp black vests gliding between tables like dancers. The host greeted us and led us to a large private table in the back. It was set for 15 people. 15. I did a quick mental count. Mum, Dad, me, Amy, Emma, Lucas. That is 6. Melissa and Derek. That is 8. Aunt Susan and her husband. 10. My cousin Mark, his wife and their 2 kids. 14. And Grandma. 15. I had not realized Melissa invited this many people, but everyone was already there, smiling, hugging, wishing Mom a happy birthday. The energy was joyful. Grandma, 85 years old and still sharp as ever, was sitting at the head of the table next to Mom. The kids were running around until Amy gently reminded them to settle down. Melissa was in her element. She was directing people to their seats, making sure everyone had a drink, snapping photos. She looked like the perfect hostess, and honestly, I was impressed. Maybe I had been too hard on her. Maybe she really had grown up. The waiter brought menus, and that is when my stomach dropped. I opened the leather-bound menu and saw the prices. Steak for $120, lobster tail for $95, a bottle of wine for $200, appetizers starting at $35. I did some quick math in my head. If my family of 4 ordered carefully, we were looking at maybe $300 to $400. That was more than I wanted to spend, but it was Mum's birthday. I could make it work. I would just order the cheapest entrees for the kids and maybe split something with Amy. But then Melissa stood up. She tapped her champagne glass with a fork, and the table went quiet. Everyone turned to look at her. She was glowing, practically vibrating with excitement. "I have an announcement to make." Melissa raised her glass higher, and her voice rang out clear and confident across the table. "Mum, you have always been there for us. You have supported us, loved us, and sacrificed so much. Tonight, my wonderful brother Joshua has generously offered to treat everyone to this amazing dinner." The words hit me like a freight train. My heart stopped. My vision blurred at the edges. I felt all the blood rush to my head. For a second, I genuinely thought I had misheard her. But then the applause started. Everyone was clapping. Aunt Susan put her hand over her heart. Cousin Mark raised his glass toward me. Derek gave me a thumbs up from across the table. Grandma smiled and said, "What a good boy." Mum looked at me, her eyes soft and proud. "Oh, honey, you did not have to do that." Amy's hand shot under the table and grabbed mine. Her grip was tight, almost painful. I could feel her fear through her fingertips. I looked at her, and her eyes were wide, searching my face for some kind of explanation. I had none. I was frozen. Melissa sat back down, looking incredibly pleased with herself. She caught my eye for just a second, and there it was, that smirk. She knew exactly what she was doing. I tried to do the math in my head, but my brain was moving too slowly. 15 people, average of $300 to $400 per person. That was $4,500 at the low end, maybe $6,000, maybe more, $6,000. I did not have $6,000 to spend on a dinner. Well, technically I did. We had about $8,000 in our savings account, but that was the kids' college fund. That was years of cutting corners, skipping vacations, buying store-brand groceries. That money was sacred. I wanted to stand up. I wanted to say, "Wait, there has been a mistake." But I could not. Not in front of Mom, not in front of Grandma, not in front of everyone who was now looking at me like I was some kind of hero. If I said something now, I would ruin Mom's birthday. I would look cheap, selfish. I would embarrass her in front of the whole family. And Melissa knew that. She was counting on it. So I smiled, I nodded. I said, "Of course. Happy birthday, Mom." Inside, I was dying. Amy leaned close and whispered, "What are we going to do?" "I do not know yet," I whispered back. The waiter came around to take orders, and I watched in horror as the damage piled up. Aunt Susan ordered the lobster tail and a filet mignon. Cousin Mark got the tomahawk steak, a massive slab of beef that cost $140, and added a bottle of wine to the table. Grandma ordered Dover, sole for $85. Even the kids' meals were $35 each for chicken tenders. Melissa and Derek went all out. They both ordered Wagyu beef at $180 per plate. Melissa added a bottle of champagne for $250. Derek laughed and said, "Go big or go home right." Mum and Dad tried to be considerate. They ordered mid-range items, but even those were around $100 each. I appreciated the effort, but it did not matter. The bill was already astronomical. Every time someone said their order out loud, it felt like another stab to my chest. I could barely breathe. I was doing the math over and over, and every time the number got worse. Amy ordered simple salads and pasta for herself and the kids. She got water for everyone, no appetizers, no drinks. When the waiter asked me what I wanted, I just said, "Water is fine." Cousin Mark laughed. "Come on, Joshua, you are paying. You should at least enjoy yourself." I forced a smile and ordered the cheapest steak on the menu. While we waited for the food, Melissa launched into a story about the trip she and Derek were planning to the Bahamas next month. She talked about the resort, the excursions, the private beach. Derek chimed in about a real estate deal he had brewing, some commercial property that was supposedly going to make him a fortune. I sat there silent, trying to keep my composure. My hands were shaking under the table. Amy kept glancing at me, her face pale. She leaned in again and whispered, "Joshua, we do not have $6,000, not without emptying the kids' fund. I knew exactly what this would cost us. It was not just money, it was years of planning, it was security, it was our future." I felt anger building in my chest, not just at Melissa, but at myself. How did I let this happen? How did I get backed into this corner? But I still could not say anything. Not yet, not while everyone was having such a good time. The food started arriving, and it was beautiful. Perfectly cooked steaks, glistening lobster tails, sides that looked like art. Everyone was raving. "This is incredible. Best meal I have ever had." The kids were even enjoying their overpriced chicken tenders. I could not taste any of it. Every bite felt like sand in my mouth. Then I saw Melissa pull out her phone. She started taking pictures of the food, the table, the family. She posted one to Instagram right there. I watched her type the caption, "Family dinner at the finest steakhouse in the city, courtesy of my amazing brother." She tagged me. Within seconds, comments started rolling in. "So generous. Family goals. You are so blessed." That was it. That was the moment I made my decision. I was not going to let her use me like this. I was not going to let her drain my family's savings so she could look good on social media. I pulled out my phone under the table. I searched for the restaurant's number. I found it. Then I started forming a plan. It was risky. It would cause a scene, but I did not care anymore. Amy noticed me staring at my phone. She whispered, "What are you thinking?" "Trust me," I said. I glanced across the table. Derek was telling Cousin Mark about how I was doing so well financially, how I could easily afford this. He said it loud enough for others to hear. That was the final straw. Dessert menus came out, and of course Melissa insisted everyone order something. "Come on, it is a celebration," she said, laughing. Chocolate soufflé for $30, cheesecake for $25, creme brulee for $28. People ordered coffee espresso after dinner drinks. I watched the total climb higher and higher in my mind. $6,500, $6,800. The waiter said he would bring the check shortly. Melissa smiled and said, "No rush, we are enjoying ourselves." I looked at Amy. She looked back at me. I gave her a small nod, then I stood up. "Excuse me," I said. "I need to use the restroom." Mum smiled. "Okay, sweetie." Melissa did not even look up. She was too busy posing for another photo with Derek. I walked toward the restrooms, but when I got to the hallway, I turned and headed straight for the host stand. My heart was pounding, but my steps were steady. For the first time all night, I felt in control. I asked to speak with the manager. A woman in a sharp black suit appeared within a minute. "How can I help you, sir?" I kept my voice calm and professional. "I need to clarify something about the bill for table 12. She nodded, listening carefully. "My sister announced to the table that I would be paying for everyone. She did not ask me, she just decided. I want to pay only for my family of 4, my wife, my 2 children, and myself. The rest of the table should be responsible for their own meals." The manager did not even blink. She nodded slowly. "I understand, sir. That is not an uncommon situation, believe me." I handed her my credit card. "Please calculate just for the 4 of us." She took the card and walked to the computer. A moment later, she came back. "That will be $440, including tax and gratuity." $440. I could handle that. I nodded and signed the receipt. My hand was trembling slightly, but I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. The manager looked at me. "I will bring the remaining bill to the table. Would you like me to explain the situation?" "No," I said. "Just bring it. They will figure it out." She smiled knowingly. Understood. I walked back to the table and sat down. Amy looked at me, and I gave her the smallest wink. She understood. No one else noticed I had been gone longer than a normal bathroom trip. They were all still laughing, talking, enjoying their desserts. Melissa was showing Grandma something on her phone. Then the waiter appeared. He was holding a black leather billfold. He walked up and placed it in the center of the table. "Here is your bill," he said politely. "Have a wonderful evening." Melissa reached for it casually. "Oh, just leave it there. Joshua will take care of it." But the waiter did not move. He looked directly at Melissa. "Actually, ma'am, this bill is for the table minus one party of 4. Melissa's face froze. "What? What do you mean?" The waiter remained calm. "The gentleman has already paid for his family. This is the remaining balance." Melissa opened the billfold. Her face went completely white. Her mouth fell open. $6,380. She read aloud, her voice barely a whisper. The entire table went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Melissa looked up at the waiter. "There must be some mistake." "No mistake, ma'am. The gentleman specifically requested to pay only for his immediate family." Every single person at the table turned to look at me. Derek spoke first. "Dude, what is going on?" I looked straight at Melissa. My voice was calm, steady, and clear. "You announced I would pay for everyone without asking me. I never agreed to that. I paid for my wife and children. The rest of you are adults who ordered your own meals. You can pay for them." The silence was deafening. Mom's face was a mixture of confusion and concern. "Honey, what happened?" I turned to her, my voice softening. "Melissa told everyone I would cover the entire bill without asking me first. I have a family to support, Mom. I cannot afford a $6,000 dinner. I never agreed to this." Mom's expression shifted. Understanding dawned. She looked at Melissa disappointed. "Oh, Melissa." Melissa's face was red. Her hands were shaking. "You are embarrassing me in front of everyone." "No," I said firmly. "You embarrassed yourself when you volunteered my money without my permission." Aunt Susan cleared her throat. "Well, I suppose we should just split it then." Cousin Mark nodded. "Yeah, we ordered it. We should pay for it." Derek looked at Melissa, his voice tight. "Babe, you said you had this covered." Melissa stammered. "I thought Joshua would. He usually." Grandma, bless her, shook her head slowly. "Melissa, you should not make promises with other people's money." Melissa said nothing. She just sat there staring at the bill. One by one, people pulled out their wallets. They started doing the math. 11 people left. $6,380 divided by 11. About $580 each. There were some murmurs, some complaints about the price, but no one could argue. They had ordered the food. They had eaten it. Now they had to pay. Melissa looked like she might cry. Derek looked furious, but he pulled out his credit card. I stood up. I took Amy's hand. "Come on, kids, let's go." Emma and Lucas hopped down from their chairs, oblivious to the tension. I walked over to Mom and gave her a hug. "Happy birthday, Mom. I love you. I am sorry it ended this way." She hugged me back tightly. "It is okay, son. You did the right thing." Dad stood up and shook my hand. Then he pulled me into a hug. "Proud of you," he whispered. "That took guts." I nodded, unable to speak. Melissa would not even look at me. She was staring at the bill, her jaw clenched. I walked out of that restaurant with my head held high. In the car, Emma asked, "Daddy, why was Aunt Melissa upset?" I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Sometimes people make promises they should not make, sweetheart. She seemed satisfied with that answer and went back to playing with her stuffed animal. Amy reached over and squeezed my hand. "I'm so proud of you. That took real courage." I squeezed back. "I just did what I had to do." But inside I was a mess. Part of me felt victorious. I had stood up for myself and my family. But another part of me felt sad. Melissa was my sister. I did not want things to be like this between us. "Do you think I did the right thing?" I asked Amy quietly. She did not hesitate. "Absolutely. She tried to take advantage of you, and you stopped it. You protected our family." That helped, but I still felt the weight of it. For the next 2 weeks, Melissa did not call or text. Nothing. Radio silence. Mum called a few days later. She told me Melissa was very upset, but Mum also made it clear she supported my decision. "You have your own family to think about, Joshua. You did nothing wrong." Some family members reached out. Aunt Susan sent a text saying she understood. Cousin Mark called and apologized for not speaking up sooner. A few others were quieter, and I got the sense they thought I had been too harsh, but I did not regret it. Then 3 weeks after the dinner, I got a text from Melissa. "We need to talk." I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop near her apartment. I was nervous. I did not know what to expect. An apology. Another fight. When I arrived, she was already there sitting at a corner table with a latte in front of her. She looked tired. Her eyes were puffy, like she had been crying. I sat down across from her. For a long moment, neither of us said anything. Then she spoke. "I was wrong." I blinked, surprised. "I should not have done that," she continued. "I should not have put you in that position. It was selfish and manipulative, and I am sorry." I leaned back in my chair, absorbing her words. She kept going. "I wanted to impress Derek. I wanted everyone to think I had it all together, and I thought you would just go along with it because you always do. But that was not fair. You have your own responsibilities, your own family. I was not thinking about that. I was only thinking about myself." Her voice cracked a little at the end. I took a deep breath. "I appreciate you saying that. I really do. But Melissa, this cannot happen again. I love you. You are my sister. But I cannot let you take advantage of me." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "I know. I get it now. I really do." We talked for over an hour. Really talked. About money, about boundaries, about what family actually means. It was not easy, but it was honest. And by the end, I felt like we had turned a corner. We hugged before we left. It was not perfect. Trust takes time to rebuild, but it was a start. Over the next few months, Melissa and I slowly repaired our relationship. She started being more respectful. She stopped making assumptions about my money, and I made an effort to be there for her in ways that did not involve my wallet. Looking back now, I do not regret what I did that night, not for a second. That dinner taught me something incredibly valuable. It taught me that saying no, even when it is hard, even when it is uncomfortable, is sometimes the most loving thing you can do. Not just for yourself, but for the other person too. Family is important. I will always believe that. But so is self-respect. So is protecting the people who depend on you. You can love someone deeply and still set boundaries. In fact, that is exactly what love sometimes requires. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them face the consequences of their actions. Melissa needed to learn that she could not use people. That relationships are not about what you can get from someone. And honestly, I think that night was a turning point for her. She grew from it. We both did. I also learned something about myself. I learned that I am stronger than I thought, that I can stand up for what is right, even when every part of me wants to just go along to keep the peace. That moment when I walked up to that manager and took control of the situation, that was one of the hardest things I have ever done. But it was also one of the most empowering. Mum's 60th birthday did not go the way any of us planned, but in a strange way it brought our family closer. It forced us to have conversations we had been avoiding. It made us all think about what we really value. So if you are watching this and you have ever been in a situation where someone tried to take advantage of you, I want you to know something. You have the right to say no. You have the right to set boundaries. And doing so does not make you selfish or mean. It makes you wise. Real love is not about money or grand gestures or who can afford what. It is about honesty. It is about respect. It is about showing up for each other in ways that actually matter. And sometimes it is about knowing when to stand your ground. That dinner cost me $440. But the lesson I learned that night, that was priceless. If you found this story helpful or relatable, I would love to hear from you. Have you ever had to set boundaries with a family member? How did it go? Drop a comment below and share your experience. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss future stories. Sharing this video might help someone else who is going through something similar. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you walk away from this feeling a little more empowered to stand up for yourself. Take care of yourselves and the people you love. You deserve respect and you deserve peace.